It's another Sunday night session, guys. I am the editor-in-chief of the Watercraft Journal. My name is Kevin Shaw. Thanks for tuning in tonight. This one's going to get a little spicy, if not totally go over a lot of people's heads. So I jokingly said that we are going to get, we're going to start giving away stickers. And I had them out, but here they are, big stack of stickers. I'm going to give out stickers because I think I'm going to do a pop quiz at the end because we're talking about some crazy stuff. So anyway, it is actually a I brought out the dry erase board. I prepared a lesson for tonight because we have a lot to talk about. This one's going to be a little fun, but I have some notes we got to go over. I'm off camera because I don't want to run over the dry erase board. All right, so excuse me, I'm going to get a drink of water first. All right, so a couple corrections from last week. Last week I said that the 100th episode of the Watercraft Journal webisodes, which is on the 2022 Yamaha FX Limited SVHO, was going to come out this last week. It's now going to be more like this week. And in addition to that, we are also going to be having our UV shirts. They got delayed a little bit because everything good has been delayed. So unfortunately, our shirts got delayed a little bit, but they are still coming. There, we are going to tease the design. We got to get them up on the store. So unfortunately, that got pushed back a little bit. But we should have them with plenty of time to fulfill orders for you guys who want to do, off-season winter rides. Or if you're in Florida and it's just a little bit more brisk in the morning, you can wear our long sleeve UV shirt. So I wanted to go over the video update. The video update, our 100th episode on the Yamaha, got pushed back to this week. We just had a lot of stuff going on last week, a lot of prep, and we had a lot of really interesting conversations with some major people who actually helped contribute to the content of tonight's video. And then, unfortunately, the UV shirt got bumped back a little bit. So those are the two big things I wanted to get out of the way first. I guess I am starting with the bad news first. But a delay isn't too bad. You shouldn't sweat it too much. But here's the big news. And this is something that I have wanted to do for a long, long time. And unfortunately, the beginning of COVID hit when we were going to do the first one. And that is the Watercraft Journal is, I don't want to say officially because that makes me legally liable. And I'm not paying for anyone who gets hurt. But we are going to be having our first long distance ride. And I'm really excited about it. It's going to be next month, November 12th. It's a Friday. It's Veterans Day. All right. It is a federal holiday. Most people are going to have Veterans Day off, are going to have Friday the 12th off. We opted for Friday because if we do get a big group, we didn't want a big group of jet skis interacting or having to weave through a bunch of Saturday boaters and fishermen. So it's a safety reason and it's a precautionary reason. We just don't want any accidents. And quite frankly, accidents happen. So we're trying to mitigate, pre-mitigate as much as possible. So this coming November 12th, we are going to be hosting what's called the Fly Off the Handle Ride. And the Fly Off the Handle Ride is we are starting in, I want to say Satsuma, but I've heard people say Satsuma, Alabama. All right. It's just north of Mobile. All right. For you guys who are in Orange Beach or in Pensacola or even Destin, it's not that far of a drive. It's maybe an hour or 2 hour drive, not very far. We are starting. Let me get the name of the launch ramp. The launch ramp is the Steel Creek Lodge, and that is located at 368 Juniper Avenue in Satsuma, Alabama. All of this information that I'm going to tell you right now, everything I'm telling you right now, is going to be published on the Watercraft Journal tonight at midnight. And then it's also going to be put up on the community page on YouTube. So you don't have to write down notes right now. You don't have to panic, but I'm bringing it out there right now. Here's the interesting thing about this ride is that Satsuma. Okay, good. I've heard people say Satsuma. All right. So Satsuma, Alabama, and the Steel Creek Lodge. That is our launch ramp. It's a nice, quiet little launch ramp, and there's plenty of parking, and it's out of the way. It's free parking, from what I understand. If I'm wrong, correct me. But my understanding is that it is free parking, and what is going to be the fun part about this is that we begin in the bayou. We begin in just really nice little tight swampy waters. We open up into the Gulf, into brackish and then salt water, and then we cut back into Orange Beach, and we're gonna run all the way to Destin, circle back, and come back. That's over 260 miles. Okay, in one day. We're going to do 260 miles in one day. Now, here's where people are going to protest. We're not making a lot of fuel stops. We are strongly insisting that everyone bring extra gas. All right? Because I'm riding my 76 mile an hour RXPX, I'm bringing 2 6-gallon cans on a rack in the back, and then I'm putting a 3-gallon can in the bow. Okay? And there's an easy way to bungee strap them down. I'm carrying about 14 to 15 extra gallons of gas because we don't want to waste any time. We got to leave at sunrise, which is around 6:30, 6:40, and we got to get back before 6:40. All right. And we know people are going to want to stop and take pictures. People are going to want to looky-loo around. Here's a couple things. A, we're doing minimal stops. For the most part, we're going to have about 80 miles in between fuel stops. All right. We are going average speed, minimum 50 miles an hour. We are going to be on the boost. We are not going 30 miles an hour. We're not picking our nose and eating candy bars and stopping for smoke breaks. This is a balls out. Let's pin it. Let's go fast. Let's be a bunch of hot doggers. All right. Now, I did see Eric write something right there that there's plenty of fuel stops. I have a list of fuel stops within every 40 miles. All right. Within every 40 miles on both legs, because we're going the same route one way and back. But the leader of our ride, all right, I somehow managed to convince Brad Bertrand, who's on a 300. He's modified it, but he's on a RXTX 300. He's got it all mapped out. He's going to be our ride leader. All right, in a bright yellow 2018, I think, 2018 Sea-Doo RXTX 300. He's going to be our group leader, all right? We're not passing him. You guys, if you know the route and you know where we're going, and we haven't announced where we're going to stop. We're going to stop for lunch. We're definitely going to stop for lunch, and we are going to designate some spots. We want to go out into the Gulf and go up on the sand, take some pictures on the beach and get a group shot and all that kind of fun stuff, because we will be able to get this done very, very quickly, as long as we maintain the pace that we want and everyone just is able to make a quick little fuel stop. So this is a big deal. Now, if you have a Sea-Doo, you're going to have to bring gas for sure. If you have a Yamaha or Kawasaki and you haven't already done it and you want to join our ride, I strongly recommend you go and check out the hyperlink at the top of the chat. All right. And that is our long hauler auxiliary fuel system kit. That is 13.5 gallons of fuel, mounts right on the transom, right on the back of your ski, and automatically siphons into your gas tank with zero cutting, zero drilling. It is not a permanent modification. All right. And I've already talked to one guy. He wants to try mine out. So I'm going to bring my crappy prototype with me, and we're going to install it on his ski the night before. So that is, I knew it. That isn't cool, dude. Mitch, is this a shameless plug for your fuel system? Oh, well, Mitch, you can leave. That's cool. You don't have to stay. But yeah, if you haven't done it, check it out. It's a business. This isn't altruism. Sorry, I do this for a living. I don't know what you want me to do. That's hilarious. So yeah, but if you have your own super rack, or if you have another and you want another rack and you want to bring your own gas, you can do that too. But our system is great. Our system works, and Brad has a system that he has permanently plumbed into his Sea-Doo. Our system is reversible. It doesn't require any drilling or cutting. But that's pretty funny. All right, Daniel, you got Jason and Daniel. You made me laugh. All right, bring as much fuel as you want. If you choose to stop every 40 miles, you're going to lose the group, and that's cool. If you have it all mapped out and you got your own GPS, that's cool. You can go at your own pace. All right, but we're doing this fast because this is how I do a lot of my mud bug runs with the guys that I ride with in mud bug. And this is to push you, and it's to push your ski. If you want to go 30 miles an hour and you want to listen to Cat Stevens on your sound system and just cruise all the way down, listening to Moonshadow, you can. That's fine. Okay? Or you can not go. That's cool too. But the way I like to ride is I like to push it. I like to push me, and I like to push the ski. And I definitely wanted to get every variety of riding in there. And this is the whole entire point, is to get a lot of variety of riding in there. So that's what we're really pushing to do. So again, this is the off the handle ride. It's over 260 miles in one day. All right. I'm going to give out free stickers to every person who shows up. Unless I run out, and then it'll be one sticker per ski, but I should have enough. I don't expect a big crowd. But definitely bring fuel. Definitely bring fuel. Definitely bring fuel. Because I will, for people who have it mapped out and people who wait for us and all that kind of, if you can do the route faster than anyone else, and then you take a selfie at the landing with a timestamp on it saying, hey, I got here 45 minutes before everyone else, or half an hour before everyone else, there will be a prize for the fastest person. If you've got an 85-mile-an-hour ski and you can outrun us and you got a bunch of extra gas or an auxiliary tank on the back, that's great. Okay. But I will bring some giveaways. I will bring some prizes. That's fine. I want to make it fun. I want to kind of throw a little bit at everyone, but we're definitely giving away some stickers, going to be giving away some prizes. And I've never been to Satsuma, but if there's a Little Caesars or something like that, I might buy pizza for everyone and be like, all right, hey, let's grab some pies and have a tailgate party. get a bunch of cheap pizza and some sodas or other beverages and sit around and shoot the ball. I'm down with that too. All right. So that is the big announcement for next month on the 12th. So for you guys who can come, we really want you to go. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So buy the you don't need to buy the tank if you don't want the tank. But I really, really want to invite everyone to show up and have a good time and to just pin. We're going to pin it. All right. And there's a lot of you guys who are naturally aspirated who can hang at 60 miles an hour all day long. All right. And you're going to reel us in, and that's fine too. So you can play it. It's not a race. This is legally not a race. This is a ride at your own risk. This is not an official event. There are no waivers to sign. Because I claim no responsibility for anyone who shows up. All right. So let's talk about today's topic. Earlier this week, a video started getting circulated of a supercharged SVHO Yamaha FX that was recently treated with a protective coating. And the protective coating brand was Gator Glide. And I've heard about Gator Glide for a while now. And a lot of people are really excited about it. And a lot of people are reporting really good results from it. And they speak very, very highly of it. They're just like, this stuff's great. This is going to be this stuff's awesome. And a lot of people were asking me, hey, what do you think about Gator Glide? What do you think about these protective coatings? We've heard about other protective coatings, and a little bit of this came as a response to a short video that we published this last week, that was addressing how would I recommend protecting an FX Yamaha hull. My suggestion was find a very good painter, primarily, or I would suggest a boat or automotive painter. Get the Yamaha up in the air, and apply one, at least. Well, I like two, but one, if not two coats of automotive grade clear coat with an added flex additive mixed into it. That flex additive is going to allow that clear coat to stretch and to pull. And because, unfortunately, the previous Nano XL hulls had a lot of flex and a lot of movement to them, the very rigid paint that they were using would often spiderweb or crack. You'd see little fissures in it. And if those fissures and those cracks were left untreated, those brittle edges could break away. And when that breaks away, then you have paint starting to delaminate and things snowball very, very quickly. So my suggestion was to maintain the color of the hull, because most Yamahas, especially FXs, have a paint colored hull, orange, red or blue or black. And I know some of them are green. Well, the VXs are green this year, but this would be the best option for protecting that paint. Even though that paint underneath the clear coat might crack and spiderweb, the clear coat is going to keep that paint from breaking and peeling under the stress of thousands of gallons of water running underneath it. All right. So that is the best suggestion that I have encountered. It is the suggestion that certified Yamaha repair shops have given. It's the best suggestion that racers have given me, because unfortunately the paint itself is very thin and it's very brittle. Now, the new Yamahas, the new FXs are running a fiberglass FMC hull. And that fiberglass hull is not going to flex and bow and move as much, but the paint itself is still the same paint. So that still means you want to be careful about running it up the bunks or of your trailer a little too hard, or running it up the rollers of your floating dock a little too fast, because that friction can burn that paint. And we've given these suggestions, quite frankly, ad nauseum. And a lot of people just kind of go, well, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, it makes perfect sense. You just need to follow these tips and to basically treat it with kid gloves. And that has spurred a lot of people to strongly start considering, well, what are some coatings or what are some paint applications that I can apply to the bottom of my FX Yamaha so that I don't have the threat of the paint cracking, peeling and delaminating. What can I do? And in the video that came out, they did a very good job, very professional job applying the Gator Glide. They did a very good job of showing before and after speed runs. And, oh, well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you, sir. The video does a very good job of representing the product itself. And I started having questions. I was like, well, wait a minute. Let's break this down a little bit. So I reached out to the gentleman who did the application, and I reached out to the owner of the ski. And the painter who applied the Gator Glide has been doing it for a while. He's no dummy. He knows what he's doing. Speaks very highly of the product. He answered all of my questions very well. And we kind of came to a consensus over the product. The person who put out the video is tickled pink with the product. He says he hasn't seen a lot of the behaviors that I was asking about. And I said, that's fine. I understand. I wish you the best. And I'm glad you're happy with your product or with your ski. So everyone kind of left amicably. But then because my questions weren't answered, I started reaching out. I reached out to Sea-Doo, I reached out to Yamaha, and I reached out to a couple professional racers. And these guys, obviously you have two very wide sides of the argument here. You have the OE who wants to protect their product and protect their customer and make sure their product is on the water as long as humanly possible. Then you have the racer who is pushing that vehicle as hard and as fast as humanly possible. So what they're seeing are extremes that the middle of the road rider, me, some of you, would maybe not encounter, but if they did encounter it, they might not be able to identify what's going on. So for what's happening tonight and what the lesson is I have to back up and I have to give you guys a 30,000-foot view of the actual mechanics of what's happening with your personal watercraft. So let me get the dry erase board out and we're going to get to it. But first, I want to get Atlas Appliances question. He asked, I'm wondering if we can PPF the bottom of the ski. I really don't see why not. That's a good question. I'm actually going to get to it. It's one of the many questions that one of the many portions of this conversation. All right. So hopefully some of you guys enjoyed high school physics because we're going to be talking a little bit about it. All right. So I don't have anything to kind of hold this up. Let's see. Will that stay? That'll stay. Okay. So what's the takeaway here for tonight? Surface tension equals traction. Surface tension equals traction. Without surface tension, you have no traction. You have bald tires in the rain. And if you want to keep your ski glued to the water like it's supposed to, you need surface tension. So let's get a little bit into what's happening with your hull and what's happening to the surface of the hull and how it reacts to water and what water's doing. Now, a couple things about, I literally wrote O2. Wow. That's terrible. Yeah. Glad I caught it. Okay. So what are some properties of water? Because water actually has some very unusual properties that need to be addressed. First, water is the second strongest fluid. Its molecular bond is the second strongest fluid in the elemental chart. The highest is mercury, all right, at Hg. That's the strongest fluid bond that we have on this planet. Water, H2O, oh my gosh. I put HO2. Okay, well, I failed today's lesson. There's Mike literally called me at the same time. That's funny. Yeah, so H2O. Good Lord. This is not going well. I did not start this well. Okay, so number one characteristic is it's the strongest fluid bond, or second strongest fluid bond here on the planet. Number two is that water, I sucked at physics too, is water maintains an incredibly strong cohesion and adhesion property. All right. And yeah, I know H2O, guys. I get it. I screwed the pooch on that one. I don't know what was wrong. My dyslexia is kicking in. All right. This is not staying up, so I'm going to have to hold it. All right. So, interesting thing with that. All right. What happens with water's cohesion and adhesion is that I really want to talk about adhesion because adhesion is very pertinent to what happens with your hull here. So let's just jump into adhesion, which means we're going to jump into the interface layer. Okay. Adhesion's interesting because molecularly, water, this sounds really dumb for me to say it like this, but this is like as layman terms as I can say it. The water on the surface is stronger or harder, but not really. Is the bond on the water surface is stronger than the water below the surface. Okay? And what that means is that molecular attractive force that's happening, those molecules that are holding each other together, when they're all surrounded by other like molecules, they have a really nice bond. They're really tight. They stick together really well. But when they're one-sided, when they're on the surface, what happens is that they tighten up. And there's really kind of a capillary action that happens. And what that means basically is that there's a little bit of an electrostatic force, meaning that the dynamic, I went to the article, the dynamic, the dynamic surface tension of water is such that it literally attaches or tries to attack whatever is on it or whatever is making contact with it. So what does that mean? What does that have to do with jet skis? Think about it this way. Who's had a really, really fast get off? 70 miles an hour or more. Okay. I had one. It nearly stripped me naked. I got off at 76 miles an hour when I was racing closed course, and it pulled the goggles out of my helmet, pulled my shorts down around my ankles, pulled my shoes off, pulled my gloves off, nearly took my vest over my helmet. I had a heck of a ragdoll, okay? It's the idea, I jokingly say, it's like poking water versus slapping water, okay? If you poke the water, it's nice and soft. You slap it, all right? That interface layer kicks in, and it goes, and it tightens up. So water with force and also with surface area tightens up. Okay. And it's all on a molecular level. It's really, really light. It's, I was drinking from the fire hose when I was doing research on this one. So anyhow, so let's talk about your personal watercraft's hull. All right. Here, this is a really rough, basic design, but I just wanted to kind of make it a point. Okay. So at rest, idling, just sitting there with the engine off, your hull is going to sink to a specific level, regardless of what brand or model it is. Okay. That's your at rest. That's your at rest line. This blue line represents the water at rest on the hull. Okay. And then if you were to measure from the very bottom of your hull, what boaters might call your keel, all right, to that water line, that is your draft. That is how much hull is in the water. That's your draft. Okay, however many inches it is. That's at rest. That's how much draft you have. Okay. Now, let's say he went, oh, dude, Scott, I ragdolled. I have a picture of it. I actually have a photograph. Dude, I'm going like this. It's ridiculous. I really got my bell rung. All right. So let's just always go back to our PWC hull. Okay. And at rest, you're at this water level. So let's say you get on the throttle, you start kicking it up to 45, 50 miles an hour. All right. You're bringing the ski up to plane. That's your planing speed. Well, at plane, your ski, the hull is going to rise out of the water. Okay. And we talked about this before. What makes a good offshore rough water hull design is that planing surface or planing strakes. All right. The designs that go into the hull shape. It wants to get more boat out of the water. And the reason you want to get more boat out of the water is because of drag. This, if your ski went full speed or tried to go full speed with that much draft, that is a ton of drag right there. All right. You're just dragging all that through the water. Now, let's go to the point of Kawasaki Ultras. All right. Kawasaki Ultra has a really true deep V hull, and it runs all the way down the damn thing. Okay. And that deep V hull, and why you see Cowies and Sea-Doos, why you see Yamahas and Sea-Doos going 80, 85 with just a tune and some small parts is because they have a very flat hull. All right. Their hull doesn't look like this triangle. Their hull goes whoop. It's real gentle. So when it goes to speed, it pops right out of the water real easy. Cowie has a ton of the hull still left in the water, has a bunch of draft. That draft means drag. Okay. So the goal is to get, if you can, get as little draft as possible. Now, have you guys ever been to boat races? I'm not talking jet ski races. Boat races. Jet boat races, cracker box races. Some of those boat races, there's literally no hull in the water. It's literally just the outboard that's in the water. All right? They have no hull in the water. You can see these, they're going 130 miles an hour, and it is just the outboard and the prop shooting a 30-foot roost out of the back. All right. They are running on very little surface tension. There's very, very little surface tension on those race boats. Okay. So Cowies have the big draft. They have a lot of drag. Yamahas and Sea-Doos do not have a lot of draft. Now, here's where it gets funny. You guys with an RX-TX versus guys with an RX-PX, who's faster? The TX is faster. Why? Less draft. Less draft. The PX has a more aggressive hull. It's got more of a T. It's got a really deep keel, and it runs longer. So that's why guys who are racing, their buddies, and they both have tuned, JP Racing or any of the Riva guys, they're getting RX-TXs going faster than RX-PXs. And that's because of the hull. There's no difference in hull design, Joe. It's the same hull from 2018. Sorry, buddy, you're wrong. So that's the big thing, is that it's draft that is slowing down your ski. All right. Why you don't see Cowies going 87 miles an hour with a tune is because those boys are cutting the water like a World War II battleship. Got it? Does that make sense? All right. So at plane, you got this very little amount of hull in the water. Got a hair. All right. I put these little arrows here to kind of show the distance in planing, your planing height. Okay? Your planing height is how much ski pops out of the water when you're going at speed. That's also the easiest way to measure your draft. You just subtract that. So anyway, all right. We talked about this. We talked about that. How do they mix? How do they matter? Okay. Surface tension means that all of this area, while you're in motion, is dragging. It's dragging. That's the big thing. It's dragging. It's trying to slow it down. Okay. When you were a kid, when you were playing Hot Wheels in the family room, and you were running your little Hot Wheel around in your shorts on the rug, and you started moving too quick, and all of a sudden you rug burn the hell out of your knees, right? Surface tension, rug burn, carpet burn, surface tension. Okay. So why is this important, and do the manufacturers understand this? The manufacturers understand this. I just saw one of you guys talking about shark gills on the RX-PX, and that's literally my next point. All right. What was the big difference in hull design between the 2012 to 2020 RX-PX versus the 2021 RX-PX? Yes, they changed a lot of the pump inlet, but the big thing was Jaime. Stop it. I literally explained this. All right. The differences between the RX-PXs, obviously around the pump, but what was the big thing they started telling everyone about? Was the shark gills. The shark gills. Oh my gosh, it's got shark gills. Oh, it's so awesome, shark gills. All right. What the hell do the shark gills do? Okay. Mikey. Hey, yo, Mikey. What's up, buddy? All right. If I'm talking, I'm looking at the board, and you guys see Billy come in, you guys got to start chanting. You got to say, hey, Billy. But anyway, okay. So the shark gills, what the shark gills did was that the RX-PX and the way it was designed previously was that it was meant to go and have as much surface tension as possible and to bite in a hairpin corner so that it only wanted to snap turns. It wanted to snap hard, hard, hard. That was the design of that ski. All right. In fact, if you looked at the hull and the way it actually is concave. All right. It literally is creating pockets. It wanted suction as much as humanly possible. Well, the problem was that there was a bunch of non-racers going out and buying the RX-PX and then getting high-sided and ejected off of it because they were trying to do slow S-turns down the river, just fully farting around. And that ski's like, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Rah! The ski's kind of like, screw you. I'm going to do that. And the casual rider is just kind of like, doo, 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 doo. And it would bite and chuck them. It would. And you could kind of finagle it with sponsons, and you could kind of finagle it with an intake grate, but you couldn't undo the hull. The hull did what it wanted to do, and it was designed to do something. And what it did was cut corners like a freaking scalded dog. I mean, the thing just hooked corners. But when it came to the new RX-PX in 2012, they said, listen, we got to change the pump inlet. Let's make the pump inlet better. Okay, good. But then they said, well, let's make this thing a little bit easier. Hey, it's Billy! Billy's here! Woo! All right, everyone say hi to Billy. I'm going to take a drink. All right. So, good. Everyone's got to say hi to Billy. All right. So they changed and they gave it those shark gills. Well, what did that shark gill do? The shark gill broke up the surface tension. It literally broke it up so that it wasn't one big flat, like taking your hand across the carpet and going and burning your hand. but it was designed to break up that surface tension. Okay. Now, an RXPX with a passenger on the back can go around corners nice and gentle and smooth. Just itty bitty. All right. And someone made a good point that it was also for offshore because the offshore guys were having a hell of a time just wrestling it doing Aqua X. That too helped it out. So the shark gills are intentionally designed to break up surface tension. Okay. Especially because where are the shark gills on an RXPX? They're not down here. They're up here. All right. The shark gills are right around there. Why? Because the top speed guy is already down here. The top speed guy, the racer, he's already there. But when he goes full bore into a corner, when he goes completely kicked into a corner, that ski lays over and suddenly you got contact up here. Now we got water up here. So you got to break up that surface tension. Number two is the casual rider. He's not riding here. He's riding around here. Okay? So the casual guy who's got a passenger who's fully farting around on the river, they need that to break up the surface tension. You get me? Does that make sense? Everyone on board? Good. All right. So let's talk about hull surfaces. All right. Let's just talk about the actual surface. We're going to begin with the factory hull right here. Yamaha, it's painted. Kawasaki, gel coat. Who can tell me what Sea-Doo is? I'll wait. Who can tell me what the surface of the Sea-Doo hulls are? Expensive. Okay, non-GTX and non-Spark, or non-GTI, non-Spark. So RXPX, RXTX, ST3. Acrylic. Chris is correct. Chris gets the sticker. Chris gets a sticker. They are acrylic. They are acrylic. All right. No, there's no paint. There's zero paint. There is no paint on a Sea-Doo. Did you know that? The engines aren't even painted. They're powder coated. There's not one drop of paint. There's no paint. Acrylic is plastic. Guys, you want to know how they make Sea-Doo hulls? If you want to know how they make a Sea-Doo hull, I'll tell you this. Go to YouTube, type in how it's made, jacuzzi. I'm not joking. Or a preformed shower. It's a sheet of acrylic that is heated, pulled into a mold, and then filled in with chopped, what they call CM Tech, but it's a chopped, aerated fiberglass. All right. That surface is acrylic. It's acrylic. It's acrylic. You can call it plastic, but it's acrylic. Okay. GTI is polypropylene. It's plastic. It's plastic beads that are melted and molded into a mold. There is no paint. There is zero paint. Sin pintura. No hay pintura. I know. Para nada. Okay. So CM Tech is the white Oreo filling. All right. CM Tech is acrylic, just like a preformed bathtub or a preformed jacuzzi. It's what it's made out of. That's why it's really hard to paint and blend it, because it's acrylic. All right. So Sea-Doo is acrylic. Yamaha is automotive paint over fiberglass. And Kawasaki is gel coat over fiberglass. All right. That surface might be a little porous. That surface might not be perfect, but it's a relatively smooth surface. Okay. So going back to the question, or about going back to the original video. The original video, what was applied? It's called Gator Glide. Okay. Besides sounding like a lubricant for college students who go to FSU, Gator Glide is a texturized protective surface covering or coating, I should say, that has some grit to it. Okay, it's not Line X. This is Rhino Liner Line X. This is the super gritty crap that's covering the bed of my Dodge Ram outside. Okay, Rhino Liner Line X, that really heavy Kevlar, super gritty, hard rubberized texture. Okay, that is Rhino Liner and Line X. That's the most extreme example we got here. Okay, Gator Glide is not as textured as Rhino Liner, and it has the same kind of protective quality. So if you run into something, you run it up some rocks, you're not going to scratch the crap out of your hull. Everyone's like, oh man, that's awesome. I want this. This is bitching. All right. And a lot of people are like, well, this is great. This will protect my Yamaha hull from scratches and delamination. But unfortunately, there's a couple things that are happening here. How did I know you're trying to Dodge Ram? I own a Mopar magazine. And I'm stupidly brand loyal. Gator Glide, by all intents and purposes, looked like a really good product. I was like, oh, well, this looks quality. This looks good. And the problem is that a little bit of the application and then what it did to surface tension. Because what that grit does is that grit starts to break up our surface tension. It starts to break up our traction. Now, I'm gonna talk about stuff, and I know that 90% of you guys who are watching this right now do not ride as hard as most people do. Or, excuse me, you guys don't ride as hard as I do or racers do. It's not an insult. Most people are casual. Most people are casual. And that's fine. But I have to talk about high-level response to what's happening. So a lot of you guys are going to be like, I'm not really going to encounter what Kevin's talking about, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. That's your prerogative. But I'm telling you that a lot of people are not going to see what I'm going to talk about. Okay. For example, the Gator Glide. The guy applied, I got the wrong pen. The guy applied the Gator Glide in this example to right above the planing surface. This is as far as he went. It's right around here. You know what? I want to get some different colored pens. I got some other pens right over here on the table. All right. Here. Let's do it this way. I'm going to knock it over. Crap. Okay. So the Gator Glide that was applied went right above the plane surface here. All right. For a straight line rider, this actually would speed you up. Not a lot. Not a lot. We're talking fractions of a mile an hour. Because what it's doing is breaking up surface tension, which in a straight line could effectively give you a little bit of an advantage because you're reducing drag. So people go, oh, I want it. Ooh, this is good. This is good. And this is why a lot of people on Facebook and in the forums will say, I put Gator Glide on my ski and I picked up half a mile an hour. And they're not wrong. And they're not lying. They're not. My light turned off. Here we go. Sorry. And it's still, there we go. Okay, good. So they're not lying when they say I picked up a quarter of a mile an hour, a third mile, or half a mile an hour. It's because they are. They're breaking up surface tension. All right. Here's where it gets sticky. What happens when you lay that ski over into a corner and that water is making contact? Get the blue pen out. And that water wants to make contact with all of this surface. Are you seeing what I'm seeing right here? Probably not, because it's a mess. Now you have a step. Now that water runs up the gator glide, hits a step, and suddenly makes contact with the outside chine or the outside lip of your hull. You know what that does right there? You know what water's going to do when it makes that step right there? It's going to go slick, smooth, slick, 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 bite. For you guys who ride motorcycles, you'll know what being crap, I just blanked. High-sided. That's what happens with a tire when you get high-sided. You have incongruent surfaces or incongruent traction. That bites, it pulls over, and it can throw you over the other side. All right? Because it's going to rebound off of this, and it's going to high-side you, and it'll throw you. All right? Any of these surface protectives will do the exact same thing when it comes to grit. All right? It's breaking up your surface tension. Rhino liner is the worst because rhino liner will literally you have something else that happens. And this one was interesting to me. This one was explained to me by the OEs. Was because I can't believe the question. They said, dude, we fielded thousands of people asking, should I rhino line the hull of my ski? So what happens with a rhino lined hull is that rhino lined hull is breaking up the surface tension so much that it's agitating the water. It's actually causing molecular action. It's breaking up the interface layer. All right. What does that do? That produces heat. It's friction. All right. Rhino liner will slow you down hard because it literally breaks up the interface layer and creates heat. And heat is the byproduct of friction. Okay. That is a huge deal. So, yeah, where are the bubbles coming from? Where do the bubbles come from? The bubbles come from breaking up that molecular bond. It's bad news. All right. It's not riding on a cushion of air, and the air doesn't just kind of go poop. Here we go, and like George Jetson's airplane, space car, and suddenly you go farting down the water on a cushion of air. No, you're breaking up. You're causing friction. That's what's happening. All right. Smarter people than me had to explain it to this soulless ginger what was going on. All right. Now I'm conveying that message to you. I am your conduit. So this one, yeah, Dre, it's a good question. We're going to get to it. It's a good question. And it was a super chat question. I owe it to him to get back. So factory hull, gator glide, rhino. This one is just absolutely the worst thing you could possibly do. This will get you hurt. This is bad news. Don't do it. Under no circumstances should you do this. Whoever tells you should, don't listen to him. He's gonna. I was gonna make a political joke. Okay, moving on. So, gator glide becomes interesting because it's not necessarily that it'll slow you down, but it's effectively having bald tires because it starts breaking up your surface. All right. It starts breaking up your surface tension. So I started talking to some racers, guys who raced Aqua X, guys who raced closed course. And I said, all right, I got a question for you. And they go, yeah, what do you got? And I said, well, what about the word I used was hydrophobic. What about hydrophobic protectants? And they go, oh, you mean like waxing it or ceramic coating? I said, yeah. And they laughed and they go, oh, well, you need to talk to Chris. And I was like, okay. And a bunch of Yamaha racers, they thought it'd be really cool to go out and get that super slick 2000 stuff. All right. It's a hydrophobic coating. If you put it on the hood of your car, you can't even wash it. It just will just, and the water just zips right off of it. Okay, it's hydrophobic. All right, it's ceramic. What happens is it's interesting. Okay, so Sea-Doo, the rep from Sea-Doo, we were talking about this kind of stuff. And he says, well, Kevin, you know what the guys used to do at World Finals. And I go, well, yeah, they used to drag their skis up on the launch ramp. They used to drag their brand new skis up the cement launch ramp. And he goes, yeah. And he said, this stuff, what this allows is zero, because it's hydrophobic, because ceramic coatings and these super slick additives or super slick coatings, what that does is that effectively makes your ski completely erratic in the water, especially in a corner. Now, I have heard of people opening up the pump tunnel, taking the intake grate out, pulling the pump out, and just that portion of the pump tunnel and applying ceramic coatings in there. And that is what's helping a lot of people with cavitation. But the hull itself, you need surface tension to stay glued in the water. All right. Now, I have talked to people who have done ceramic coatings on limited amounts of area. All right. Get the cap off the damn thing. All right. I know a couple guys who drag race who apply ceramic right here. I'm murdering my red pen. It's totally black and green, and let me get some clean red in here. But they apply surface right at the very bottom, and not on the keel, not at the front, but right before the intake grate. They're trying to what they're trying to do is they want to maintain surface and traction. They want to maintain surface tension and traction, but they do want a little bit of patch right there that's going to eliminate drag when they're at top speed. And that small patch is right before the intake grate. It's not the hull. It's not the entire hull. All right? So that is basically, when it comes to ceramic coatings, do not do your entire hull, because your ski will be completely and totally unruly in cornering. Okay? Absolutely do not. This is the bond line. Across here is the bond line. If you go and ceramic coat the whole thing, it'll look wonderful. It'll look great. It'll look beautiful. But you're going to have no traction. But right before the intake grate, if you do about 2 feet before that, because, okay, what happens? Let's go back to what happens on a hull, okay? I've done this a million times, but I'm going to do it again. This pen is your jet ski. Here's your bow. Here's your transom. Here's your pump inlet, your intake grate, okay? Let's say you're in the water and you trim up, okay? So you trim up. The boat doesn't trim like this. I don't know what you're thinking. A lot of people go, oh, when you trim, you go up in the air. I'm like, no, you don't. You do this. It pulls the back down. You don't just go whoop out of the air as I drop my pen. This is really professional looking. But yeah, you're not going boop out of the air when you trim up. I don't know what people are thinking, but you're not doing that. That's not the case. So when you trim, you're trying to get the bow out of the water as much as you can. All right. Especially with that ST3 hull, you want to get that bow out of the water all the way. Everyone getting top speeds out of the RXPX are trimmed 100% at the very top. 100%. The Yamaha guys, they're not even going, they're going maybe 3/4 of the way up when they trim up and they're getting top speed runs. Because there's a point of diminishing returns where you go like this and you start dipping the tail in the water and you got drag all around the transom. Okay. But when you trim up, now with the Sea-Doos, get that nose out of the water. All right. Get the nose out of the water because the back of the Sea-Doo's flat as a board. So if you do that, you can right here, right before our intake rate, put about 2 feet of ceramic coating there. You will have less drag. Now, I talked about racers and racers scuffing the hull. And people go, well, that doesn't make any sense. That goes against everything Kevin said. Here's an old trick, and I actually brought it up here. I actually put it right here. I don't know if it's too small for people to read. I said, secret racer trick. Number 1, they would take like a 2-foot or a 3-foot piece of wood, wrap it in sandpaper, and they sit there with 220 grit, and they true the hull. Well, what does it mean to true the hull? Truing the hull is the factory hull, and I don't care what ski it is. It does not matter. The brand, the model, the year, every hull comes out of the mold doing this. It's just, there are high spots and low spots in every ski. I have never seen a ski that is true out of the factory ever in my life. I've never heard of one. I've never seen one. All right. So racers have to go in there with a sanding block and sit there and grind and true the hull. Make sure that there's no low spots. Make sure there's no high spots. Get it filled in. Get it nice. All right. Then they go out 220 grit. 220 grit. You can run your hand across anything 220 grit, piece of wood, piece of fiberglass, wouldn't matter what it is. If you ran your hand across 220 grit, it would feel like a piece of paper. All right. It's as rough as maybe a piece of paper. And not like nice cardstock. I'm talking like the paper that you used like in elementary school when you were doing arts and crafts. You know, not butcher paper, but maybe butcher paper. Butcher paper. Yeah. Feels like butcher paper. All right. So, yep, Lance. Exactly. And so it's really not that rough. Okay. But it's rougher than the factory hull. So why do we do that? Because a true hull is not going to have any inconsistencies. It's going to be nice and smooth. All right. And it's also going to break up a little bit of that surface tension. It's just enough that it's not scary. It's just enough that it's controllable. All right. But the racers go out there, and I mean, race skis are butch. They're never nice. They are butch. Anyone who's got a really nice looking race ski, they're not working on it. But I say 150 because a lot of people would use 150 to knock down the high spots, but 220 is your finishing grit. Just sit there and just, and typically they're truing a hull right about halfway up. I wouldn't even say halfway. I would say a few inches above your at plane level. All right. Because the difference between a trued hull at 220 and above is very, very minor. It's very minor. All right. And they have really aggressive sponsons that will kind of compensate for that. So what's our takeaway since I'm already an hour over this? All right. My biggest takeaway on this is for most people, they won't know or they won't feel the differences in traction when it comes to a gator glide properly applied. They won't. If you guys are dead nuts, absolutely, I'm going to put gator glide on my ski or a comparable product to my ski. Screw Kevin. I don't want to listen to a damn word he says. That's fine. You're free to do it. Makes you an asshole, but whatever. I have a shirt for that. I recommend this the most. No hull looks like this. No hull looks like that. Hulls, let's say, will come out here. Sea-Doo comes down here, comes down, has this another step, and comes down to a round surface, and then comes back up. So you see these steps? Okay? That's your ST3, RXPX, RXTX. Not P. Your GTX, your Fish Pro, your RXTX. That has, let's do it in a big black pen so it looks even better. All right, here we go. We're going to get schmancy here. All right, here we go. Look at what an artist I am. I'm like Bob Ross with happy little trees. It's just a little happy accident. It's a little happy accident. It doesn't matter. It can mix smudges. It's okay. All right, so that's my best Bob Ross. If you are going to apply any of these products, which again, I don't recommend, I strongly recommend that you have it applied all the way to a chine mark. All right, this would be a chine mark. Do not arbitrarily end it somewhere and just say, that's good enough. End it and have it carry all the way down so that it's a true line. Please. I'm begging you. All right. Donald, that's great. I can imagine it now. All these normies sanding down their brand new ski halls. I know. I know what I'm doing here. This is terrible. It's like blow-off valves. Everyone sees a video on putting a blow-off valve on their ski, and they're like, I have a bone stock FX SVHO that my wife and I ride. Should I put a blow-off valve on? I'm like, dude, why? Are you making extra boost? Do you want to spend the $500 on a tile blow-off valve? Well, no, you're fine. Go drive it. Go ride your ski. You'll be fine. Anyway. If you do apply any one of these protective coatings, again, which I don't recommend, at least have it carried all the way to a chine mark, to a chine or not to a strake, but one of the chines, one of the angled, you'll see an angle. This angle is a chine. This is a chine. Chine, CHINE. Okay. Please, if you're gonna do it, which I don't recommend, at least do it all the way. Don't half-ass it. All right. Otherwise, I really don't recommend it. Leave it as is. Leave it factory. You can resell your ski. You'll be able to enjoy your ski. You'll be fine. Now, for you Yamaha guys who are like, but I want to protect my paint. What do I do? I want to do it. I don't want to scuff the hell out of it. I don't want to cover it in rhino liner. What do I do? Clear coat. Clear coat. It's as strong or stronger than paint. It is stronger than paint in most cases. Clear coat. Get automotive clear coat with a flex additive. Apply that to the hull of your FX. No one will ever know. You will not see it. It's not visible. But apply clear coat with a flex additive and you're done. It'll be the greatest thing you've ever had. You'll never have a problem with it. Clear coat. All right. I am not telling you to. Yeah. If you want to do that protective coating, you can. The ceramic coating thing concerns me as much as these. As much as you can go one way, you can go wrong the other way. you can break up your surface tension and break up your surface tension. That's your choice. Just don't touch your ski, LOL. Stop beaching it. That's number one. For the love of Pete, please stop beaching it. All right. My dry erase board's starting to show its age. It's not cleaning up as nice as it should. All right. Well, I hope that helps. I can't believe I did O2 and then HO2 instead of H2O. Unreal. I had a Biden moment. What do I do with my hands? All right. Hopefully that answers your questions. I didn't see any super chats come in. So we're going to ride out probably another 20 minutes and then we'll pack it in. Does anyone actually believe that any kind of paint, sealant, or wax is hydrophobic enough? Yes. Yeah, there are some. There's some really, really good ones, Mitch. I mean, I realize you want to be here and be contrarian, but yeah, there really are. And I can actually put you in contact with the racers who got high-sided on their skis using it. You know, I'm actually not lying to you, but whatever. People think I'm doing this to lie to people. All right. Dude, I could be upstairs watching TV with my kids. Okay. All right. Well, let's scroll up. Let's see what we got. All right. We got Mitch complaining. That's great. Yeah, for the ride, guys, again, I definitely recommend it if you're interested in joining the ride. It's over 260 miles in one day. It's going to be on a Friday, not a Saturday. It's going to be on Veterans Day next month, so November 12th. We're going to be hot rodding it. We're going to be going fast, so we're going to eat up a lot of gas, but we are bringing gas with us. All right. Yeah, everyone's sharing the different brands that they like, and I'm not trying to single out any brand. I'm really not. But for today's lesson, the idea is what those do to the water surface and how it interacts with the hull surface. All right. Scott makes a good point. At high speeds, the hull starts to fight the suction of the pump. Therefore, at some point, the pump becomes the surface piercing prop pump to maximize the speed. All right. Okay. Interesting, Mitch, about a golf ball. You know what's funny? Water is not air. Totally different molecular process. Totally different surface area. Why don't we make boats that are spherical? Why is this guy here? Jeez. All right, let's see here. The older RXTX hulls were somewhat stepped. The S3 hull, which was 2009 to 2018, was a three-stepped hull. And they openly said they were looking at the cigarette offshore boats, like the offshore Donzies and cigarette brand boats. And what they were looking at was the long, narrow design and using a lot of lifting strakes. And what was interesting was that those hulls did well in a straight line, but in a corner they weren't happy in a corner. One of my best races ever I did on an RXTX 255 on an S3 hull, the stepped 3 hull. Worked great. I mean, I was going to Catalina and back, so it's a straight shot. But yeah. Ultimately what they're looking at is everyone wants to be able to do everything with their ski. They really do. I want my cake and I want to eat it too. So how do we balance that line? How do we find a happy medium? For example, look at the Yamaha FX. A lot of people in 2019 complained that the FX was too rowdy. It was too wet, leaned over too much, wasn't balanced enough, or wasn't stable enough, all these other complaints. Well, the new FX hull in 2019 was borrowing a lot from the GP. And the GP is a very race-inspired hull. And so the FX, the new FX, did really well offshore. Did great offshore because the GP does really good offshore. But it's a little bit of a rougher ride than the previous FX. And it has a lot of inside lean. And what inside lean means is that the ski likes to roll. Does this. Oh, I'm going into a corner. Here we go. Oh, we're going to another corner. Okay, we're going to do this. That's a lean. That's an inside lean. And the older FX really didn't do that very much. It was very stable. It's very flat. So a lot of casual riders were like, oh, man, they ruined it. Oh, this sucks. And it was just trying to find a way to make the FX sportier so it could be more competitive offshore. And again, we're walking that line. We're walking that balance. All right. Let's see here. Scott. That's funny. I'm not going to read it here because YouTube will get mad at me. All right. That's an interesting question, Ray. So what would happen if you put a strip of Gator Glide in the same size and location as the shark gills on the 2021 RXPX on the standard on the previous T3 hull? Theoretically, it would do the exact same thing the shark gills do. Now, you won't have the same pump hookup because they have changed a lot of the ingress around the pump. But Ray he presents a really good question. I don't have an answer for that. But theoretically, yes. All right. All right. Kevin asks, so for your average jackass tooling around, nothing, not even wax, I really wouldn't. I wouldn't even bother. Now, if it's a Yamaha and you're trying to protect your paint and you have the money to spend and the time to spend, clear coat. If it's a Yamaha and you don't want to paint it, first, never beach it. Be careful about going up the bunks too fast. Be careful of going up floating docks too fast because you can hurt the paint. And pay attention to your hull. If you have it on the trailer, get underneath the trailer with a flashlight. Look at it. Look for cracks. Look for gouges. Look for failures in the paint. If you, God forbid, you hit a little tree branch or you hit a rock or something and it takes a little chip out of it, you can, believe it or not, I can't believe I'm recommending this, but you can actually fill it in with nail polish. Because what's nail polish? It's acrylic paint. It's acrylic. Acrylic is strong. All right. Okay, got a little off-topic question, but I'm all for it. Okay. Jay writes, hey, Kevin, thinking to upgrade from a 2014 Sea-Doo Spark to the 2022 Yamaha EX Limited or Deluxe. Do you think it is worth it? Well, obviously, you're going from rec light to rec light. The horsepower difference is 10 horsepower. Weight difference is about 100 pounds. I mean, I'm rounding up. But It's a little more stable. It's a lot easier to reboard. I've actually really enjoyed my time with EXs. My kids like the EX a little bit better than the Spark. They found it a little more comfortable, had more storage, but storage typically isn't a big factor. If you are going to go to an EX, I strongly recommend getting through Yamaha's parts and accessories the dry bag that goes in the front. The front little cubby thing, it's kind of a joke. That's not really. I mean, it's a wet storage. You can put like a rope in there or some flip flops. But I really recommend spending. I think it's like $50 or $60 for the drop-in dry bag that just kind of has the 4 push pins or 5 push pins that keep it in place. It's one of the best accessories Yamaha has for the EX. So if you're considering the EX, I wouldn't even touch an EX unless you're willing to put that little front bag in there, because it really does help out. Because you're going to bring stuff with you. You're going to have junk you want to bring. Put it in that dry bag. But yeah, they're comparable. They're fun, but you're not going to feel as squirrely or loose as you might on the Spark. The EX is a little bit more of a mature Rec Lite. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Anthony Cahill writes, I saw the craziest thing today. A 2021 RX-PX towing a flipped over 2021 RX-PX. We helped them flip it. They were towing from the handlebar, scratched out resignation. That sounds sketchy. Yikes. Sam McDonald writes, why did the aftermarket stop offering pump wedges on newer skis? Wouldn't a pump wedge be the best of both worlds, top speed without sacrificing cornering with trim down? Thinking T3, ST3 mainly. That is a good question. And because I ran a T3, I ran a pump wedge on my 08 RXTX 255. Kawasaki, you can still put the pump wedge works great, but of course the hull hasn't changed since 2007. Sea-Doo, that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe because the efficacy of the pump and the trimming. I don't know. Anthony, that's a good question. You stumped me on that one. Anthony, if you want another sticker, email me. I'll mail you a sticker for stumping me. All right. Would be interesting to know what paint they use on the Yamaha hulls if they use a good durable polyurethane rather than a cheap paint. Their paint, I want to say PPG. No. It's an automotive grade paint, and it's the same grade paint that they use across the board. But it is an automotive grade paint. God, PPG is coming to mind, but I don't think it's PPG. Crap. I wonder if it's in the article we did when I toured the plant. Interesting. All right. Mrs. Silly Master writes, great name. Hey, Kevin, maybe I missed this, but is it just me? But no matter where I set my trim on my FX SVHO Cruiser 2016 and 2019, I get no results. Well, the 2016 and 2018 are two totally different hulls, two totally different skis. Same powertrain, different hulls. So, the problem with that is the answer for both is not the same. The ride plate on the 2019 is an anchor. It's intentionally designed to slow you down. The ride plate on the 2016 is actually a little bit more conducive to trimming. Now, if you pin that thing all the way up, it's not going to get you any speed. I actually found our highest speed numbers when I was testing back in 2016, 2017 was just 1 or 2 up from neutral, not all the way up, like 1 up. All right. But the 19, the best speed numbers, it's got to have that nose absolutely in the air. So that's a little bit of a tough one. All right, Steve Como. All right, Steve, did you write a question? What FX year hull is the best that has ride? 2022, hands down. 2022 is going to be the best. No, 2022 is going to be the best FX that we've had. Hands down. Like, not even a question. My pleasure. Mitch and I agree on something. Awesome. Let's see here. Steven writes, I actually went with a Works pump wedge on my Yamaha boat. It helped get it on plane a little quicker when the bow was full of kids. It also does throw a little bit of a rooster tail. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would. Pretty Ricky wants to know what the surface tension of a 5200 is. Hell if I know. That's funny. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. All right, Steven writes, GP 1800, GP 1800, so used to. GP, okay, one more time. Steven writes, I have a 2021 GP 1800R HO, only goes 63 at 7,500 RPM, and wife has VX Cruiser HO. Hers does 65 at 7,500 RPM. Wonder why hers is faster and I'm lighter on the GP. Well, do you weigh more than your wife? And are you using GPS? Or are you just looking at the speedometer? The speedometers on those Yamahas are garbage. Like, whoever thought it was a good idea to calculate speed off of engine RPM, dude, he needs to be the next guy just emptying trash cans at Yamaha. I can't believe that was a good idea. That was the goofiest thing. It was goofy. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. All right. Anthony writes, Kevin, do you have your 2021 RXPX? Yes. If so, what were your need of year thoughts? Almost wrapping up mine for the year, and he does the German mine, like Mein Kampf. Anthony, what is going on with you, dude? The video of the must-have mods for the 2021 end of year. What are your end of year thoughts? That will come in my final review of that ski. This is a business, and I do write articles for a magazine, which I own. And I want people to go and read those articles, so I'm not going to give it here. All right. Do you think you'll ever test supercharged to non-supercharged models? Same brand, same models for comparisons. I won't compare them. but I'll do individual reviews of those skis. But there's no reason to take a GP 1800R HO and compare it up against an SVHO. Because if you're on the fence, I'm going to tell you to buy the HO. Oh my gosh. You guys. The new skis are not showing up until spring. New skis are not showing up till spring. Spring. The word is spring. Okay. What is spring? April or May? Maybe late March. But it'll be spring. Spring of 2022. Is it worth $5,000 more to get a 2022 FX over a 21? This will be my first ski in 20 years coming from a Yamaha. Wow. All right. From a 1200. Okay. Because of the hull, because of the ride plate, because of the dash, because of the phone integration, I would 100% go with the 2022. That would be the best thing you could do is 2022. All right, guys, we're done with Super Chats. I've caught up with everything. This has been interesting, and I think we're going to be done. I think this is it. So, yeah, I think we're good, guys. This was fun. For no keel guard. No. Bad monkey. No. No keel guards. Ugh. Goes. It's so. Oh gosh. Okay. No keel guards on your jet skis. All right, guys. Have a good night. I'm done. That was ridiculous.